Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Along with Debbie Georgiani, I am Jerry Usher. Delighted that you are with us here for this broadcast. We will not be taking phone calls. We are out of the studio today, but we are definitely going to present you with a lively and I think a fun and very informative conversation. If you're not familiar with ChurchPOP, it's a service of EWTN. You are going to be very well aware of it and want to subscribe and get over to their website, churchpop.com, before too long, because we're going to have Brantly Millegan, the founder and editor-in-chief of ChurchPOP, on with us. Debbie, welcome. How you doing?
I am super excited about this interview. And again, this is just a special broadcast for our Take Two family. You guys love ChurchPOP. We know that because it circulates all the time through the Take Two family. So we thought it was just perfect timing to have the founder and editor-in-chief of ChurchPOP, Brantly Millegan, on with us for the entire hour. So we can ask him all the questions that we've been thinking and pondering and wondering about. We can just go directly to the source and find out all about ChurchPOP, Jerry.
Yeah, so again, no phone calls today, but we do have, like I said, a conversation that you are definitely going to benefit from. And we're going to start off with asking Brantly. Well, first of all, Brantly Millegan is the founder and editor-in-chief of ChurchPOP, an online Catholic publication in 4 languages. He has degrees in philosophy and theology, is a convert to Catholicism from evangelical Protestantism, and lives in South Carolina with his wife and 6 children. Brantly, welcome to the broadcast.
Yeah, hey, glad to be here.
Yeah, as Debbie said, we like to retweet and forward and share all kinds of stuff from ChurchPOP all the time, and we mention it on the radio show here all the time because there's usually something on there that's of interest or even relates to the topic that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But what we'd like to know, first of all, Brantly, is just how you came up with the idea of ChurchPOP, where the name came from, and how long you've been doing this.
Yeah, so ChurchPOP started in 2014. Just a project by myself. But really the genesis of it goes back to, I'd say, like maybe January 2010. Back then, I would say it was sort of the golden age of Catholic blogging. So 11 years ago, the Catholic online content world wasn't super professionalized. It was mostly just amateurs who were blogging. And I'd say that was the heyday of people like Jennifer Fulwiler, right? Was really big on blogging there. Like Brandon Vaught had a blog, Devin Rose had a blog, Mark Shea, had his blog, and that was sort of like the main content where the discussion was. And around that time, I was converting to Catholicism. So my wife and I were converted to Catholicism, and it was the senior year of our time at Wheaton College when we were converting, was at that time. And I felt inspired to create a blog to try to tell people at school, like, why am I becoming Catholic, right? Wheaton College, just so you know, is the evangelical Protestant school. If you're evangelical Protestants, becoming Catholic. So I started a blog called Young Evangelical and Catholic. And it had some moderate success, had some readership. It got me just writing and getting into the online media publishing world. Then in 2012, there was a new publication started called Aletheia. So it's ALETEIA.org. And that was started by some people who had left Zenit, and they were starting this new thing, Aletheia. And they were looking for like an assistant editor for their English edition, and someone forwarded me their thing because, they knew me in the Catholic blogosphere. At the time, I was like currently working at a parish, and by the way, parish work is really, really hard. I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore. So I applied for that, and I got started with that November 2012. I did that just about 2 years, a little less than 2 years. In June 2014, I had a dispute with somebody at Aletheia, and it's very common, in corporate, in companies and stuff. And I ended up leaving. And my plan was I was just going to go find another job. So for about a month, I was kind of doing that. Didn't find something right away, though. And in July, I thought, I have some like skills here for online media. I see an opening for a certain type of publication that doesn't exist. And so I decided I was going to start a website. originally I wanted to call it sanctify.com, which somebody else already had. And I contacted them trying to buy it from them, and they wouldn't sell it. And my second choice was churchpop.com, which was available. So I created that just on my own. I made the website design, the logo. Originally, I made all of the content, and it launched August 11th, 2014.
Wow, that is exciting. So does the pop in church pop, does that stand for anything, or you just, tell me a little bit about that.
It's a good question. No, it does not. And it is canonically, the C is capitalized and the POP is capitalized with no space. Right. That's the canonical name. No, a problem we had at Aletheia was that, well, the name was kind of weird. How do you spell it? How do you say it? But then they felt locked in. And then so I was like, I want a name that's easy to say and spell. And somehow I came up with ChurchPOP. I was like, oh, that kind of has a ring to it. It didn't mean anything.
It does. Oh, wow, that is awesome. And I have to tell you, Brantly, I love when the ChurchPOP articles come into my email inbox at 3 and 4 in the morning. I love it. I look forward to it. When I can't sleep, that's the first thing I check. I have to tell you, I'm somewhat in a good way addicted to ChurchPOP, which I think that's an okay thing. What do you think, Jerry?
No, I can't agree more. I love receiving the emails about it, and like I said, during programs even, we have seen articles, we have seen things that are being posted on ChurchPOP, and we reference those here on the radio program. So, really good stuff. Brantly, hang on, we're just a couple of minutes here. We're gonna step aside for a moment here. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. We are visiting with Brantly Millegan, the founder and editor-in-chief of ChurchPOP. It's an online Catholic publication, and it's a service of EWTN, so you know it's good, it's rock solid. We're going to be talking much more with Brantly here about his own conversion story. He mentioned a couple of minutes ago, he and his wife and their family converted from evangelical Protestantism. We're going to talk about if you, as just a user of ChurchPOP, can submit material to be published. We're going to talk about the future of it, what the response has been from readers, and so much more here on this recorded version of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. No phone calls today, but more of our lively conversation with Brantly Millegan is coming straight up. Stay with us.
Listening to this special broadcast on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We have the founder and editor-in-chief with us of ChurchPOP the entire hour, Brantly Millegan. And yes, those little toddlers you hear in the background, that's probably one or two of his 6 children. 6, that's right. So Brantly, let's get back to the questions. We have so much to ask you, not a lot of time to do it. And I know real quickly, before we get started, because we believe in the power of prayer, I just wanted to share real quickly, if I may. EWTN Radio brings you the Holy Rosary twice each day for over 25 years. Tune in every morning at 5:30 a.m. Eastern for Mother Angelica, and every evening at 9:30 p.m. Eastern for Father Benedict Rochelle. It's only on EWTN Radio. You don't have to do what we do, but Marty and I, we tune in for the 9:30 p.m. Eastern Father Benedict Rochelle Rosary, and we just absolutely love it. Okay, Jerry, I know we've got just a ton of questions and not a lot of time, so we got to go fast.
Well, yeah, Brantly, we were talking about the origins of ChurchPOP, and thanks for sharing all that with us. How's the response been from readers? I'm sure you're able to gauge that pretty accurately.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. The public started August 2014, and over the next year or two, it grew very fast, especially early on, and so much so that we thought we had a winning formula. So we've taken it to other languages. So it's actually in 4 languages now: English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian. And those are not just like pure translations either. Those are like their own additions. Now we do translate some content back and forth, but they're their own separate editions that do have sometimes unique content. And we actually, lately, we've actually been reaching more people in the Spanish language.
Nice. Where do you, you know what I love about ChurchPOP? There's a lot of Catholic sites out there. They have links to stories and things going on, and a lot of it is very serious and almost kind of brings you down a little bit. But the way you present stuff, it's the same stories in many cases. It's news, it's things that are happening in the church and in the world. But there's a certain something about it. I mean, I'm on your website right now, and I don't know if it's the layout or the look or how you present it, Brantly, but it's engaging. I mean, it makes me want to stay there and keep clicking on articles and keep reading. What have you tried to create by way of, just the visual presentation?
Yeah, no, what I would say is that we want things to be easily digestible and shareable. That is what we are attempting to do. So we're a publication that is designed around the social media world that exists. So yeah, we want it to be engaging, and we want it to be positive. Some people think ChurchPOP is like light stuff or something. I wouldn't say light. Some stuff is very serious or has really substantive content. Some stuff is more light, but I'd say the key thing is that it's easily digestible and engaging.
Oh, I completely agree. And Brantly, you may or may not know this, but Jerry and I, we have Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, but we also have a ministry. It's called Stand Tall. Our website is standtalltoday.com. And the reason why I mention this is because we have a life coaching portion of the ministry. And a lot of our clients that come to us, they actually reference ChurchPOP articles. They'll say, we read this on ChurchPOP. Is this, and they'll start to talk about it. And I just love that feeling that they are going to social media. They are picking up these articles from ChurchPOP. They are letting them, kind of just sit a while with them in prayer or something of that nature, and they're exploring what you have to say. So I agree with you when you were saying that maybe, just maybe, some people on the outside are saying, oh, this is kind of, light topics or fun and engaging topics in the world of Catholicism. But really, Brantly, I think when you really read the articles, there's a lot of depth there that people can learn and grow from. So I just want to say kudos to you. I think ChurchPOP could actually be used in religious education circles.
Yeah, and I think it is. I mean, I hear from it's used in schools, which is funny. It's referenced it's cited as sources on Wikipedia. Mm-hmm. It's cited places. I know it's used in schools because Google has a service called Google Classroom that teachers can use for managing like assignments and things, and we get traffic from Google Classroom. And then CCD, faith formation teachers, tell us that they use it and things like that. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to say real quickly, I think a whole entire curriculum could be built around ChurchPOP articles. Because the reason why I say that, Brantly, is because I was in religious education for over 30 years. And sometimes when you are trying to convey the faith to young people, right, it gets lost sometimes. And the kids go, oh, this is boring, or it's too dry, or it's and I think the creative spin you put on it, the edge you put on it, I think is very engaging. It's very inviting, and it's attractive to so many, from young people, I think, all the way up to our seniors. That's just my take anyway. I think you're really onto something with ChurchPOP.
Yeah, thanks. And I'd say we have two types of content. So we have evergreen content, and then we have time-sensitive content, or you could say like news. And both are critical to what ChurchPOP does. So evergreen content is stuff like just a saint story or something about the faith, something that is always relevant. And that stuff can get us a lot of, let's say, traffic or page views and attention early on, but more importantly, it can keep getting traffic kind of forever. You make that content once, it comes up in Google search results. There's a couple search things in Google where we're the top thing for that thing. So we have an article that it gets steady traffic forever. The news stuff, of course, can get a lot of attention right away, but then it's not really relevant, a year later or even a week later or something. And so ChurchPOP is a combination of those things.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. It is a special recorded broadcast of the program. We appreciate you listening today. Not taking your phone calls, but we're talking with Brantly Millegan, who is the founder and editor-in-chief of ChurchPOP. It's an online Catholic publication now available in 4 languages, a service of EWTN. And the way you get there is very simple. Go to ChurchPOP, P-O-P, ChurchPOP.com, and that'll get you all of the insightful and informative and even very, very creative things that you're putting on the website. And speaking of the content, Brantly, as I see on the site, it looks like there's a lot of stuff you write originally. Do you also post just links to other articles? Who's responsible for the content, and how do you get that?
So we make original content on the website, but also on Instagram. So there's content it's made just for Instagram. And in English, actually, our main editor of the English website is Jacqueline Burkpile, who does a great job. And then Caroline Perkins, formerly Bortle, but she got married recently. Caroline Perkins does our Instagram stuff in English. And then we have other editors for the other language editions. It's funny you asked that, where we get our content. So originally, I had this vision that I was going to get a stable of tons of different writers, that maybe just wrote one thing a month or something like this. I pay them something. And because I thought I need to have a wide net of people to tap into their creativity, because like me, or even if we had a team, we're going to run out of ideas. Okay. And we've actually moved away from that. And now we actually produce the vast majority of our content in-house. Occasionally we'll post other people's content if they send it to us or something like this. But the reason for that is just that because we make this content on a daily basis and have for years, we've developed skills at doing it well. We've actually found that is actually the better way to do it, just from experience. We do occasionally publish things from other people. If you go on our website and our menu, there's a way for submissions or tips or something. And sometimes people send us stuff and we think it's great, we publish it. I will say we're pretty choosy. So if you send us something, there's a good chance we may say no. But yeah, we do occasionally publish other people's things.
This is fascinating. I'm loving this this conversation we're having with Brantly Millegan, the founder and editor-in-chief of ChurchPOP. Okay, so I heard a couple little ones in the background, Brantly, and then I heard, I think, a dog as well. So you have a full house, right?
Well, we don't have a dog, so maybe that's.
Oh, maybe that's Jerry's dog then. Okay.
I don't know.
Probably
We're
mine.
making a funny noise.
Okay, that's Jerry's dog, but you do still have a full house, 6 kids, a beautiful wife. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, no,
very
very blessed. Yeah. Our oldest is 11 and our youngest is 9 months.
Wow. Oh, I love the 9-month age. I love that because they're responding to you, but they're not ready to, they're not off and running yet. I love that age. Okay.
Yeah,
we're going to
she's just, I'm sorry. Yep.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say she just started to kind of walk. You mentioned the running. She's not doing that yet. But.
Good deal. Well, we're going to talk more about your personal journey and your conversion story and all of that on this special broadcast for our Take Two family. It is recorded, so we're not taking any calls today. I know the Take Two family just loves to pick up the phone and call in because it is primarily a call-in show. But when we have these special broadcasts, we want you to sit back and listen, but we want you to share it. Share the broadcast on social media. Go share it far and wide because we really believe in ChurchPOP, right, Jerry?
We do, yeah. And speaking of dogs, that was my dog Duke, I think, Brantly. And you mentioned ChurchPOP launched on August 11th, and that's his birthday. So
good.
maybe he was just chiming in. Maybe he heard you mention that or something. But let's dive a little bit deeper into your own story, Brantly, your conversion, like you said, from evangelical Christianity to Catholicism. What were the initial things that started to get you thinking about making that transition?
Yeah, so I grew up going to Catholic school, 1st through 12th grade. Even though I was not Catholic, my parents just viewed it as the private school alternative in our area. This was in the Eugene, Springfield area in Oregon, where I grew up. And so that got me at least exposed to Catholicism, like the liturgy, prayers, some knowledge about Catholic theology. I'd say, I've said this publicly before, a lot of the theology education was very poor, unfortunately. But the schools did give me, like I said, exposure to the liturgy, the prayers. I just knew Catholics. A lot of evangelicals don't even know Catholics, or they only know former Catholics because those are the people at their church, right? So that got me thinking about it. And then when I went to college, at Wheaton College, I studied philosophy, and I read, like pre-Reformation Christian thinkers for the first time, like Thomas Aquinas and Augustine and the Church Fathers. And so I was thinking about it from like a historical point of view and theological point of view. I was looking at things like apostolic succession and justification and things like that. At the same time, so my wife and I, we were dating, then we got engaged, and then we had a very practical question, which was which type of contraception are we going to use when we get married? And my wife was not thinking about Catholicism at all. In fact, she didn't really know much, didn't really care. But I said, hey, we're not going to change anything, but hey, why don't we read Humanae Vitae, because I'm interested in this Catholic thing. Let's see what they have to say. And she was like, okay, whatever, I'll read it because Brantly wants me to read it. That had an enormous impact on us, particularly her. She was very surprised. She found it very convincing. And so that was her entry point, was like, whoa, if the Catholic Church is right about this, what else would they write about? Whereas I had been coming more from this like historical angle. So thankfully, we both joined the church together. It was actually after we got married. We got married not as Catholics, and then we joined RCIA. And within less than a year after we got married, we joined the church. We're very blessed.
Well, blessed indeed, and so many directions we could go with that. If you don't mind, I'd like to go back to where you said, you studied the pre-Reformation philosophers and writers and got kind of deep into history. And this was at an evangelical college, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Why do you think it is the light bulb went on for you, Brantly, and you thought, wait a minute, maybe I need to look into this some more? Without being critical or negative toward anybody at all, I sometimes wonder how, in a school like that, they can be teaching all of this and everybody, one by one isn't just going, wow, I need to be Catholic or I need to look into the Catholic Church. How was that in terms of the context of the school where it, like I said, it impacted you the way that it did, but not necessarily everybody else?
Well, it did impact other people. So a couple other students joined the church at the same time we did. The year before I went to Wheaton, so I started in 2006. In 2005, a philosophy professor who his specialty was medieval philosophy did convert to Catholicism and left the school. That was a big deal. And then the year after I left in 2010, the year after that, a Bible professor converted to Catholicism. He left the school. And what I found was, so first of all, not everyone at Wheaton College is like going deep into philosophy and theology. I mean, some people are, but most people aren't. And then the people who do, many of them do kind of like most don't become Catholic, but most may become more respectful of that tradition. And maybe they become Anglican or something. I mean, most realize like the low church evangelical Protestant doesn't really make sense, particularly from a historical angle. But even for theological, philosophical reasons, it's not really coherent. In fact, one thing I did when I was there before I converted was I went to professors who I thought who were educated on the issue. Was like, why aren't you Catholic? Because I'm reading these things, I'm getting these arguments, these seem to make sense. And some of them were like, yeah, actually, I do kind of believe Catholicism.
Huh. Interesting.
Or they were like, one was like, those are good arguments. I don't have a good argument against Catholicism. I think you maybe should become Catholic. I mean, people weren't really that against it if they knew what they were talking about.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, we want to hear more about your journey, your conversion into the Catholic Church. Brantly Millegan is with us here. No calls today. It's a pre-recorded episode of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Brantly is the founder and editor-in-chief of ChurchPOP, a service of EWTN that you will find at churchpop.com.
We are so glad you're listening to this special broadcast here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We've been waiting a long time to have Brantly Millegan on the show, typically we don't have recorded broadcasts. They're usually during holidays or for special occasions or for certain circumstances. So we look forward to these times when we can choose and ask and invite a guest on Take Two to spend the hour, because Take Two family, you've asked so many times, who is behind ChurchPOP? It is brilliant. Well, this is the man, Brantly Millegan. Brantly, I got to tell you, I'm a big follower of ChurchPOP. I absolutely love it. I think it's so creative. It just breathes like a new kind of just a new life into some of these articles and some of these the stories that are floating through our Catholic world. It just makes it it's very pleasurable, I should say. Reading your articles, it doesn't, even if it's a very heavy topic, the way you cover it, I think you do such a fabulous job. So again, thank you for that. But I know we're talking about your personal journey and your conversion story, but I have to keep mentioning that because I know the Take Two family is going to say, did you tell him how much we love him?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you've got a big family here at the Take Two bunch. So
yeah. Well, take us now a little bit more through your own conversion story, Brantly, and you. I mean, it's not that unusual that it's the pro-life message of the Catholic faith that really kind of gets people thinking really seriously about becoming Catholic. And of course, you had that K through 12 experience in Catholic schools as well. So a lot of seeds were planted for you. But you said your wife was not necessarily thinking along those lines. But take us then from that reading of Humanae Vitae and how that just really propelled you into the Catholic Church.
Yeah, well, something like, do you use contraception or not is a highly practical question, right? Like either you do or you don't, and it can have enormous consequences on your life. So we read Humanae Vitae. I had never read it before, but at that point I thought, Catholics are smart, even if I'm not sure I totally agree with them on everything. It's worth reading. And my wife was surprisingly very convinced by it, and she was like, yeah, they're right, we can't do this. And I was actually like, oh, we should still do it, but I was eventually convinced too. That opened her up to it. I mean, the thing is 100 years ago, actually, even evangelicals were against contraception too. This shift of most Protestants accepting it only happened in the early 20th century, in the 20s and 30s, and in the 40s and 50s as well. And by the 60s, almost all Protestants had accepted it, and people thought, the Catholics are going to accept it too. And then, of course, Humanae Vitae 1968, Pope Paul VI said, no, we're not accepting it. We're going to keep the same thing we've always had, our same teaching. And so if you accept that Catholics are right on this, right there, that's already a strong argument for Catholicism, because you're like, all these Protestants, they're wrong. And the Catholic Church is really the only significant organization on the planet that has maintained this despite enormous amounts of pressure to change. I mean, so one, if you think that's right, there's nowhere else to go. And two, it's a pretty strong argument for the indefectibility of the church. Despite all of its problems, despite corruption, we all know there's corruption in the church, okay? It's maintained this amazingly. It's a miracle.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like we can look at certain people. I mean, you might look at somebody who's got some warts on their face and they limp and they're maybe have difficulty getting around or something, and you look at them and if you don't look deeper into the person, that person could be very holy, could be very wise, could have so much wisdom to share and so forth. And I think that's the case with the church right now, and in every age for that matter. The humanity of the church is often what is looked at by people from the outside without diving deeper into those key issues. So I remember, I think it was Scott Hahn saying when he learned something that the Catholic Church had right. What did he say? Even a blind hog finds an acorn once in a while. But then as he said, it was one thing after another after another. The Catholics were right again. So beautiful conversion testimony that we're hearing, Debbie.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so I have a question for you, Brantly. So when you and your wife came into the church, how did your extended family feel? Are they starting to, look at the Catholic Church? How about your parents that sent you to Catholic school? I mean, you talk about all the family around you.
Yeah, that's a good question. My parents have expressed interest in it. They're in their 70s now. Honestly, a lot of it, I think, is just the way they've lived their life a certain way, and it's hard to change. But I'm hopeful they might become Catholic someday. And then my siblings, I don't know. I think mostly aren't interested. That's where, I mean, there haven't been like problems or anything like that. And then even at Wheaton, like most of our friends either were ambivalent or they were sort of interested too. A couple of people were kind of like really against it, but not very many. And honestly, what I found is that, a lot of evangelicals are really, against Catholicism. Almost always they just don't know what they're talking about. They just don't know it very well. And so I'm like hearing their arguments. I'm like, this is not a strong argument because you're just simply wrong on the facts,
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Interesting. I have to ask you real quickly, does your wife have a first name?
Yes, Krista.
Krista.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I love that. Krista and Brantly. Oh, that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. You should have like a plaque or something at the house.
Yeah, no, I'm very blessed to have her. And we feel like we dodged a bullet with the contraception thing because we were planning on doing it. We got engaged and scheduled a wedding with that plan. We actually got married the summer before our senior year of college, right? Because this was part of the whole equation. We then mid-flight, like getting ready to get married, changed that and decided to totally embrace this. And it completely set our life on a different trajectory that we weren't planning on. And praise the Lord. I mean, we're very blessed. We have 6 kids now. I mean, we wouldn't be here if we hadn't read Humanae Vitae.
That's
powerful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and what a powerful witness.
Well,
ahead,
real
Deb.
quickly, Jerry is one of 5, and I'm one of 6, Brantly. So we totally
Wonderful.
approve of big families. I love the noise. I love the sounds that you hear when it's just, a house is filled with all those different personalities and all the different voices. I think it's a beautiful thing. So God bless you and your beautiful family.
Yeah, thank you. I'm also one of 6. Even though
Are
we weren't
you?
Catholic. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm
Where
the fifth
do
of
you
6.
rank? Where do you rank in your family?
Number 5.
Number 5. Okay. Are you the youngest boy, or do you have a brother? But
I have a younger brother.
Okay. Gotcha. Very cool. So we all came from big families. That's awesome. Well, this is an incredible conversation we're having, Brantly. And I have to tell you, I keep typing over to Jerry. Wow, incredible. I really believe that Church Pop, it came at just the perfect time for all of us, and especially the millennials and those that are, still trying to navigate their way, in the faith. And I just think it's perfect timing. I really see it. You said 4 languages. I see it going all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll do other languages too. I mean, we've just, we've kind of focused on big ones, but we could maybe do more in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. Glad to have you tuned in today. And you may have realized by now that we are not taking any phone calls. It is a pre-recorded episode of the program as we visit with Brantly Millegan, the founder and editor-in-chief of ChurchPOP, an online service of EWTN in 4 languages now, something that Debbie and I use a lot. We mention articles from there on the program quite often. Go to churchpop.com. And when people go there, Brantly, just generally describe the different categories of things that they're going to find, because there's really a beautiful mix of content on your website.
Yeah, well, so I mentioned earlier, there's the evergreen versus news or time-sensitive content. I mean, then we have, like, even up at the top, we have these categories: articles. It's just, normal articles in prose, I guess you could say. Lists, 7 this, 10 that, or something. We've had other types of content that's kind of come and gone. We used to make a lot of quizzes. We haven't done that lately. We even have some games, some Catholic-themed video games on the website. Linked to there. We've had comics and infographics. We post videos. We've had a lot of different things. The type of content has evolved over time. As you would expect. Originally, I was focused just on the evergreen stuff, and then at some point we decided, no, we're going to try to start doing some news. But even on the news, we're not trying to be like a paper of record. Let's say like Catholic News Agency is trying to be that. That's their role. we're just focused on news that is particularly interesting, or maybe is kind of offbeat news. Like I remember one set of articles that was really big for us was, do you guys remember a couple of years ago after the March for Life, some buses got snowed in on some turnpike in Pennsylvania or something?
Yeah.
And it was this kind of story where it's like, okay, is this like important? You could say, well, no, it's just that people got snowed in and had a mass on the side of the church. But it's certainly interesting. And we leaned heavily into that and did a lot of original reporting when other people weren't covering it. And that was really big for us.
See, I think that's brilliant. And I think that brings more people in, and it allows people just to understand, because you said it so beautifully, Brantly, when you were talking about your friends and stuff. When people view us as from the outside as Catholics or devout Catholics, they see us a certain way, and they almost see us like this robotic kind of creatures that just go along. And there's so much more to us if they would just kind of dive in and really be able to understand Catholicism. And I think you do a really good job at that, at kind of covering different angles, like you said. I think it's brilliant. I know I'm probably going to say that for the rest of the show, but I really feel that way. Every morning when I open up the email from ChurchPOP, I literally wake my husband up because, like I said, it comes in at 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'll say, "Do you see what ChurchPOP has today?" I mean, it's really quite creative, unique. I think it's great.
Thank you. I forgot to mention, we also used to do satire news early on, although we discontinued that. Partly because there's a certain percentage of the population, I think, that's just psychologically incapable of recognizing or appreciating satire, which is fine. So it kind of confused some people, and it was mixed in with non-satire stuff. I think it's better if you have a publication that's only that, so people always know that it's satire. But there were some articles I was really proud of early on that were satire news.
I don't know if I was familiar with ChurchPOP at that time, Brantly, but I would have loved it. Eye of the Tiber is one of my favorite sites. I used to actually work with the guy who runs that at Catholic Answers. So, but I'm on ChurchPOP.com right now, and there is still plenty of levity and humor and so forth. I'm looking at the infographic for Catholic mass gymnastics. And I thought, maybe we can describe
this is what I was talking about.
For the listeners. I mean, it's really very funny, but it also it provides you with an opening to then explain why we sit, stand, kneel, and do all the gestures we do at Mass. So you're sometimes using humor like this as a launching point to teach the faith. I think it's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
To kind of break that robotic mold, that mold that they kind of put us in, you spin it in a beautiful way in these articles. And I do agree with Jerry. It's a great opening to be able to continue the conversation and get people to truly understand Catholicism. Wow. I know, I agree, Jerry, that those are some remarkable articles. Real quickly, before we continue this conversation, we must mention Mother Angelica Live Classics, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on EWTN TV and radio. EWTN foundress Mother Angelica shares her timeless wit and wisdom. Speaking of Mother Angelica, do you think if she was with us today, do you think she would have loved ChurchPOP? She had a great sense of humor.
I mean, I hope so.
Someone's at the front door.
Yeah.
Someone's at my front door there.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Is that one of those ring doorbells?
I hope so. Yeah, it's a ring doorbell thing here.
Oh, cool.
I hope so. And I feel very blessed to now be a part of the EWTN family. That was a whole saga too, because remember, I started ChurchPOP not in EWTN. It was eventually acquired and brought into EWTN years ago. And I'm glad to be a part of it.
I'm seeing on your website, Brantly, you've got nearly 700,000 likes on your Facebook page. That is really remarkable. And I also see on your Facebook page that you actually do some live devotionals on various days during the week. So talk about how you've gotten into that way of engaging other people and praying together.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, Facebook launched their Facebook Live video feature. And so we tried different things of like interviewing people or doing different things. We started this just live prayer things. And we do it 3 days a week. We do the Rosary and we do the Divine Mercy Chaplets. And on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And people seem to enjoy that. People like, if we have to like miss a week or something because our people can't do it, people notice that it's not there. Early on, we also had some like bishops lead it that we knew, like, hey, can you do a live prayer leading the Rosary? I think we had Cardinal Collins of Toronto. We had I think Archbishop Aquila, I think early on. We've just done it mostly now. But yeah, no, that's been a cool thing. And then like on Instagram, like I said, we have a lot of original content that has both in posts like pictures, but also on their stories feature. Caroline does short videos and things like this, just kind of following her and her faith life. And yeah, we're just trying to reach people in all the different ways that are out there.
Wow, that's great. Okay, so now I have to ask you the big question because I've been so curious about this. I was almost going to email you just, privately just to ask this question. Have you heard from the Vatican or any Vatican officials on ChurchPOP?
Yeah, I don't know. I've met Vatican officials in Rome because EWTN has an office there and they know a lot of people. And I went there a couple of years ago and met some of them. Have they ever reached out? I guess I can't think of a time that they've reached out. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll say this. Cardinal Collins of Toronto, the reason I was connected with him and did that video I mentioned earlier is that he was on some group like Pontifical Council for Communications, I'm probably butchering the title, which no longer exists, but it got disbanded a couple of years ago. He was on that, and he just reached out to me, and he's reached out to other people saying, hey, I'm on this thing. You're doing stuff online. I want to know more what you're doing. So he reached out. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only person, though.
That's cool. Okay, so how about this question? Because this was the other question I wanted to ask you. Have you ever been challenged on any of the content? Because you do somewhat, you have a very unique style, and I'm just wondering, do any of the hierarchy of the church, anybody contact you, say, hey, wait a minute, that's a little bit off in this, or anything like that?
Nobody in the hierarchy's ever contacted us in that way. We're not trying to do super controversial things. Generally, it's like pretty straightforward Catholic theology, and we're trying to maybe citing ourselves, or we're just quoting the catechism or something. It's simple stuff. Sometimes just lay people have said, challenge us on things. But usually we're right because we're just trying to follow the mainstream stuff. Right. I'll say this. A handful of times EWTN's asked us, you didn't like that, can you take it down? It's only been a handful of times in our entire history. So I actually have to give credit to EWTN. They've been very open. They've been giving us an enormous amount of freedom. And we've been able to post pretty much what we want to post.
Wow. That's
Take
great.
Two with Jerry and Debbie with Brantly Millegan, founder and editor-in-chief of ChurchPOP, a service of EWTN. Put a .com after that, and you will find your way to some wonderful content, news stories in the church and the world. Also, a lot of other just really fun things, quizzes, games, infographics, and much more. ChurchPOP.com. And you are a service of EWTN, I know, Brantly, but you've got to be supported somehow. I'm sure that some support comes from them, but you also, I guess, you reach out and you rely on your readers to help you out as well. How all are you supported?
Yeah, people donate. People can donate. We're all a part of EWTN, so they can donate to us specifically as a part of EWTN. And if you're donating to EWTN in general, you're supporting ChurchPOP. We also make money from advertising revenue on the website. That's something as well. But donations are still the primary way that EWTN supports them.
So if one wants to become an advertiser on your site, they just go to the page that you were talking about and then contact you guys at your team?
Yeah, in the menu, if you there's like these 3 bars and there's an advertising page, and people, you can buy advertising not only on our website but on all the EWTN websites. And we're careful about what we put on. We're not selling any random advertising. We want something that's in accord with Catholic values and stuff like that.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're authentically Catholic. We love that, Brantly. We love that. That's what we're all about here on Take Two. So you have, you're right now. This broadcast is going to just a worldwide, as you know, platform, and the Take Two family, it just grows each and every day. Is there anything else we can be doing? We pray for you guys all the time. We want you to continue with all the great original content and stuff that you're bringing to us, and using social media in a good way. Brantly, we've done probably Jerry, a half a dozen shows on how social media is used to divide and to hurt and to destroy, and you're using social media, which we believe that's what John Paul II would have said to use social media, and Mother Angelica and everyone else. So we just want to say thank you for using social media in a positive way.
Yeah, no, I feel blessed that we have the opportunity to do it.
Some of the things I love, Brantly, about the ChurchPOP.com is you bring to our attention things that we wouldn't otherwise hear about. And I'm thinking about recently you had an article, The Incredible Life of Venerable Father Aloysius Schwartz. I had never heard of him before. You put an article up there about him, and just so many other things. And in a lot of cases, things that are being touched on the surface by other forms of media, but really not, they're just not going deeper like that. So what is your intention in trying to bring these maybe more obscure articles and things to people?
Yeah, the Catholic history, Catholic culture, the Catholic faith, Catholic devotional practices, just all these things are there's a lot of depth. There's an enormous amount of depth to the Catholic Church. Like, if you're just making content on things about the Catholic Church, you're not running out of stuff anytime soon, because there is so much there. And most of us don't even know it because we've forgotten about it, or we just, I don't know, we just don't know everything. So we want to bring out the riches of the Catholic tradition, and make it available to people, to each new generation. And there's so much there. I mean, things from architecture to incredible saint stories and incredible people's lives, and interesting theological things, or historical things. It's incredible. And you never know how things are going to impact people, or how they're going to spread. I remember one article in particular. I had a couple series of articles years ago on just collections of photos of beautiful churches around the world. And I'm not like an architecture expert. I was just looking at photos and, that looks nice, that looks nice. I had one article on this, a set of pictures. And it just happened that the top picture in this article was this beautiful, beautiful church in Lithuania. And it wasn't ranked or anything, but that struck a chord with people in Lithuania, that their church was featured in this article, and the Lithuanian government saw it and tweeted it out from their official Twitter accounts.
Wow!
And we were big in Lithuania for a little bit. It was kind of funny.
That is amazing. That is incredible. Well, and to follow up about, I was super excited. I love the articles you post of angels, anything to do with guardian angels or the archangels. I studied angels for 13 years, Brantly. So when I see those, I shoot them off far and wide. And Brantly, just so that you can definitely confirm that I am a big follower of Church Pop. If you will friend me or on Facebook, my personal Facebook page, Debbie Georgiani, you'll see the long list. You would think I work for Church Pop. I'm just telling you, Brantly. It's unbelievable. Everybody goes, yeah, everybody says, what's your connection to Church Pop? I said, I love it. That's my connection. But now we have this beautiful broadcast that we can share as well. Right, Jerry?
Yeah, absolutely. We got about 2 minutes here, a minute and a half maybe, Brantly. What else would you like to share with people? Anything else from your heart, and maybe just any plans for Church Pop as you go forward?
Yeah, I feel very blessed. EWTN kind of, I think, took a risk on me back in late 2014, early 2015. And I'm glad that we've been able to build this together. We've been able to build a really great team of good people who are highly skilled. I mean, I mentioned Jacqueline and Caroline, but our Portuguese is done by Clayton Ramos and Victoria Ruda. Our Spanish is Andres and Nuria and Eleonora in Italy doing our Italian stuff. These are really good, smart people who work really hard, and I'm really happy to work with them.
Great. Well, we were happy to work with you today too, Brantly. Thanks so much for making time. Blessings to you and your lovely wife, your 6 kids. Thank you so much for all that you're doing, folks. It's ChurchPOP.com, ChurchPOP.com. And Debbie, I know you'll be spending a lot more time there as I will, and we hope that our listeners go there as well.
Oh, absolutely. Brantly, will you visit us again in the future?
Yeah, of course, anytime.
Thank you so much for the fine work you're doing. And folks, we hope you absolutely enjoyed this broadcast. Don't forget to post it far and wide on social media. We just love the Take Two family. Until we meet again, have a beautiful and blessed day. In the year of St. Joseph, please pray for us.